Okay, let's go ahead and get started. I want everyone to know we are recording today's information session. With that said, please take the time now to turn off your video and mute yourself if you haven't already. At the end, we will open it up for questions and you can unmute yourself or you can use our chat feature to type out any questions you may have. However, during the presentation, please remain muted. I am Karen Padine. I am the program manager for the Masters of Information Systems program, and I'll be talking to you more towards the second half of the presentation to give you an overview of the application process. But for now, I'm going to turn on over to our program director. He can introduce himself, and then he'll give you an overview of the MSIS program.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are. So my name is Mohammed Abdelhamid. I'm the director of the MSIS faculty in the Information Systems department as well. And here is pretty much the agenda for today. First, we'll start with trends in IS, the job market in general, why IS in general. Then we will talk about why CSULB specifically, and then why our program specifically, and then I'll hand it to Karen to go over the application process. So before I get going, I just want to say sorry if you hear some construction noise. I tried my best to put them off, but this is the quietest room I have, and it's still quite noisy. So excuse me if you hear some background noise. So let's get going with the first part of the agenda. Now, if you look at reports of top companies globally or even in the US, you will see that recent years, last decade, last 5 years, it's been the industry or the tech industry that is leading the market. So Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Alphabet, or Google, Facebook, these have been the top companies in terms of market cap. And even if you look at profitability, Apple has been the most profitable for many years in the past decade, majority of the years in the past decade, in fact. But if you look at a decade ago, 10 or 15 years ago, like in this graph here, you'll see that the top companies used to be oil and petroleum or oil and gas related companies like ExxonMobil, PetroChina, Shell. These were the companies that used to be like the most profitable or have the most market cap. In the last 10 years or so, not the case. It's been the tech industry that's leading. What this tells us, basically, in basic English, is that technology is the new oil, right? So basically, the trend now is technology is the new oil. And technology companies lead the way, and non-technology companies have to have some kind of technology solution embedded within the organization in order for them to survive, because they've been disrupted. If we move on to the next slide, it's going to be a report or part of a report from PwC. So PwC does publish a publicly available report. You can actually download it online if you just type in PwC top 100 companies. It's publicly available. This is part of the report from 2021, so the most recent one. You will see that they highlight that technology sector is the largest sector in terms of market cap, and it has the highest increase compared to other also industries. While you look at some of the traditional industries like finance, for example, financials, number 9 has underperformed, or healthcare has underperformed. Now, again, we emphasize that technology is the new oil. And nowadays, there is no difference between, in the past, it used to be there is the IT department, and then there is everything else in the business, in a non-tech business, finance, accounting, management, HR, you name it. Now everything is blended together. A lot of the solutions, whatever industry you're talking about or whatever sector you're talking about, they have to be fully or heavily dependent on technology. So digital skills are becoming essential regardless of what industry, what sector, what department you work at. And programming has become the new literacy. And so IS people are here to improve existing systems or learn how to use existing systems or innovate to come up with new systems. So if we move to the next slide. A typical example of how technology disrupted some of the existing industries or businesses is, of course, Uber. Uber is a classical example. Uber, Netflix, Amazon, of course. And we know Uber has disrupted the transportation industry big time. Companies, taxi companies went out of business. Delivery companies went out of business. So it has changed the industry completely and has generated a lot of jobs as well. And what this did, it also impacted other businesses, whether directly or indirectly, in terms of their operation. Now, say McDonald's as an example, or any other company as an example. Because of companies like Uber, they have to change their operation a little bit. So they have, someone who takes order for Uber deliveries or any of the delivery apps, and someone who put these orders in some place. They have parking spots for them. So it does impact many other businesses indirectly. Now, as we saw in the last slide, the Uber CEO said, you have to disrupt yourself, otherwise someone else will. And this is very ironic because Uber will need to start disrupting themselves because Tesla is about to disrupt the disrupted industry already. So Tesla and Elon Musk has announced that they will launch a robotaxi. They call their app a robotaxi. And they predict to have about 1 million robotaxis in a year or so. Now, what that is basically anyone who owns a Tesla and has purchased the autonomous driving feature in their Tesla, they can download the robotaxi app and, of course, register their car there, their Tesla there. And whenever they wish, let's say they're sitting at home, they're sleeping, they're working, whatever they're doing, they can launch their Tesla to go and work as a taxi for them without a driver. So they don't have to be in the car. And this basically is another way to Uber and doesn't need the human intervention. So, and we will see this in various other industries because of COVID and because of other reasons. So for example, now we will see a lot of efforts and innovations related to the retail industry. So people are looking for ways to innovate in try-ons or virtual try-ons, virtual fitting rooms, utilizing technologies like augmented reality, virtual reality, etc. And things like also stadiums. So there will be technologies coming up that allows people to participate in real-time live events from their home. They can cheer from their home, and that will be reflected automatically live. We've seen this already in the NBA season, the last season, the COVID-19 season, when people would pick their seats virtually, and there will be those screens, so you still have a virtual screen and so. And so this is what an IS major would contribute to. So let's move on to the next slide. So there are various career paths for someone who graduates with an MS in IS. Typical are business analysts or system analysts, data analysts, anything that has to do with data analytics, machine learning, business intelligence, cybersecurity, which is becoming one of the top jobs nowadays. in my opinion, it's soon going to be the number one. And that's why we're trying to change our curriculum. By the time you guys come here, or some of you come here, the curriculum will have a lot of focus in the cybersecurity and the courses as well, because that's the trend, especially because of the COVID-19, when many companies have turned into virtual or remote working. That means cybersecurity attacks have become more and more prominent. So, and there are various types of jobs related to cybersecurity. Some are behavioral, some are more technical, etc. So if we look at the top jobs in the industry, look at, just Google up, top jobs in the US, not even in tech industry, just the general top jobs. You will see that majority of the top jobs, top 10, are usually tech related. So that's an example from Glassdoor data. This is recent from Glassdoor. I just did it like a few days ago. And you'll see number one, developer, then data scientist, as we mentioned, related to data analytics, then product manager, which is very related to being a business analyst, so a mix between management or business skills and technology skills, enterprise architect related to databases as well. And then information security is number 6 right now, but you will see it leading the board in a few years, in my opinion. And as you go down the list, you see they're all technology related or IS related one way or another. You look at Forbes top jobs, it's exactly the same story. Actually, they overlap a lot. Again, developers, data scientists, enterprise architect, and then information security engineer. Again, that's why we're trying to get a mix of both analytics and cybersecurity to have to be the main 2 focus of the program. All right, so let's move on to the next one. So why CSULB specifically? Now we know technology leads the board. Now we know IS jobs are leading the board also in general. Now we know that there are a lot of opportunities, actually more opportunities than talents and skills. So why choose CSULB specifically? So various reasons. Some reasons are related to the location, other to the department, other to the university at large. So first of all, location. For those who are local, you know that we are in Southern California, which is a very strategic location, very close to a lot of recruiters. And most big companies have main offices, if not the main, they will have one of their main offices, second or third, in close proximity to that area. With that in mind, there will be a lot of career fairs as well that you can walk into sometimes you can drive to, etc. Now, of course, compared to, let's go back again, let's go back to the previous slide. Compared to, for example, a campus that is not in a location where there are a lot of companies or big firms, so it becomes different or difficult because we know networking is one of the main ways to find jobs as well. Also, we have faculty with a lot of connections. These are some of the connections we have for people that are going to work with us or working with us. So for example, KPMG, Karen and I have started working closely with them, Optiv Cybersecurity, and many Laserfish, which are part of our advisory board now, one of their senior level or C-suite level managers. And so we have also selective professors. We select specific professors to teach in classes, those that have passion for teaching in the graduate program. So with that being said, we can move to the next slide. We keep our, with that being said, we want to make sure or highlight that the College of Business is accredited and ranked by various ranking systems. So for example, if you're familiar with AACSB, which is the most elite accreditation that any business school can have, there is only 5% of business schools in the world that are accredited by AACSB, and CSULB is being one of them, right? And that gives you value when you get, of course, your degree from a highly accredited institution. Finally, we move to the next slide. We have a small size program. As we said, we want the faculty to have close relationship with our students and with the industry experts. And with that, we want to try to keep our size small as possible. As compared to other programs that may have 200 or 150 or 300 people, where you really could, finish the whole journey without being remembered or known. And then there will be different sections for each course where there may be inconsistent standards. We also offer our classes in the evenings and or on Saturdays, which makes it good for professionals and full-time. So if you're full-time, it's fine. It's in the evening. If you're a working professional and you work, let's say 9 to 5 or 9 to 4 or 8 to 4, still you can make it to classes because they are at night and on Saturdays. They don't conflict with your schedule. International students who happen to have assistantship or any campus job, on-campus job, they can also work in the day and then go to classes in the evening. For international students, we are STEM designated with that, which means that you can get an OPT visa status that allow you to work for 3 years without a sponsor. So that gives you a lot of freedom, a lot of advantage to find a job 3 years after you graduate. So in the next slide is just a sample schedule. Some of these courses will change as I am working right now with Karen and other people in the department to get some new courses approved. So we will have more updated curriculum by next year, definitely. But in general, the program is about 2 years or 2 academic years. You can finish. You will need to finish about 10 courses in 2 years. Okay, so it's a cohort based. And then I'm gonna hand it to Karen. I think that's the last thing I have to talk about. She can guide you now through the application process.
Thank you, Mohammed. Thank you for that overview. Now let's progress to the second part of the presentation, which is the application process. First off, let's go over the general application requirements to apply. So you must have a bachelor's degree from a regionally accredited university. In the past, students or applicants would be required to sit for the GMAT or the GRE exam. However, both exams are waived for the fall 2022 term. You will be required to submit an updated resume and a video statement of purpose, also referred to as a video recording. This is our version of the interview process. I will go more into details about that in the upcoming slides. You will also need to submit a short answer statement, which is like a short essay question, which is 1 to 2 paragraphs long. Lastly, you will be required to submit 2 letters of recommendation. And all these steps I'll go more into depth in the upcoming slides again. So the entire application process is completed online via the Calci Apply website. The application window opens up October 1st, 2021. And so the next coming up week, and the deadline for international applicants is April 1st, 2022 and June 1st, 2022. That's such a long year to say for domestic applicants. The online application has 4 different quadrants or 4 different sections that need to be completed. I will walk you through every single one of those sections or those quadrants so you know what you can fill out or what you can go ahead and skip. I will also make sure to send you guys our application guide, which it's going to be a PDF. And my recommendation for you is that when you start the online application, just go ahead and have that PDF open to the right next to the online application, and it literally will walk you through the entire application. So it'll make it really easy for you guys. The application fee is $70 and it is non-refundable. Lastly, all transcripts and test scores will be submitted directly to enrollment services. So me and Mohammed, we do not collect or review any of those documents. It will go to our enrollment services and they are like our admissions and records when it comes to all that. Before I go into the rest of the application process and walk you through that, I want to make you guys aware of our graduate writing assessment. So this is something that you don't really need to worry about as an applicant. This is something that you may have to worry about once you're admitted into the program, and you will learn more about this within your first semester in the program. So in order to get your your master's degree, in order to be eligible to apply to graduate, all that stuff, you need to fulfill this writing requirement, referred to as GWAR for short. So there's 3 ways that you can go ahead and get this requirement waived. The first one is that if you got your bachelor's degree from an accredited university here within the United States, then you fulfill the requirement. If you received your bachelor's degree from a non-US institution, but the entire language or the courses, everything was taught in English, then there is a possibility that you can get this waived. If you sat for the GMAT or the GRE, or you plan to, because I know we said we did waive it, but maybe you're applying to other programs and they do require either one of these exams. If you get a 4 or higher in either one of the writing sections, then you can go ahead and waive this requirement. If you're not able to waive any, I just listed like those 3 options. And if none of those apply to you, then what's going to happen in your first semester in the program, you will be required to take a placement test, which is called the Graduate Writing Placement Test, also referred to as the GPE. Once you take this placement test, either in person or online, you have to get a score of 11 or higher to pass. If you do not, so for example, if you get a score of 8, 9, or 10, then you would be required to the following semester to take the GWAR portfolio course. This is going to be like a 16-week long semester course on top of your current courses that you will be required to take within the MSIS program. If you get a score of 7 or below, then you would be required to take the portfolio course and the 301A and have to get a C or better. Don't let this scare you. I know when I first read it, I was just like, okay, this is a lot. But we have, met with an advisor who runs this entire program, and they said the graduate writing placement test has a very high passing test, or high passing score. So your English is fine and you're required to take this, and I really wouldn't worry about it too much. I will be sending you guys a copy of this presentation, and I did provide a link at the bottom. So if you want to go and do some more research yourself, just feel free to click on that link and you could do some more research. Now that I got that out of the way, you guys are, now know some more about the writing assessment. Now let's go into the actual application process. As I started before, the entire application process will be conducted online via CalState Apply portal. I know on the screen it says fall 2021, but starting next week, October 1st, you will be able to select fall 2022. And you're going to go ahead, log into the system, again, select fall 2022, state that you're applying as a graduate student, and you're going to set up your portal using your email address, and you're going to create a password. When it comes to the email address, you want to make sure you use one that you are checking on the regular, because that is the email address that Enrollment Services is going to be reaching out to. And same thing with Mohammed and I, we have any questions in regards to your application, we're also going to be using that email address. And I know applicants in the past were like, oh, I didn't receive your email. And so you just want to make sure you set up an email address that you check on the regular. Now I'm going to walk you through the next slide. I'm going to do that. So as I stated before, you have 4 different quadrants within the application itself. In order to complete the applications, pay your application fee, submit it, all 4 quadrants need to be completed, as you see here on the right hand on the screen. Once you receive 4 green check marks or 4 green circles, your application is complete. Now I'm going to walk you through every single one of the different sections. So the first one's going to be personal information. So on this one, you pretty much want to check off every section within this quadrant. So you're going to pretty much input your contact information, your demographic information, those specific details. So every section needs to be checked off on the first quadrant. The second quadrant is going to be academic history. And I know here on the screen, you only see 3 sections, but there actually is 4 sections within the application. And I'll go through each one of those sections. So the first one is going to be colleges attended. Here, they just want to go ahead and list all the colleges you attended in the past. So if you went to any community colleges, the school you went to get your bachelor's degree, that for sure is the most important one. And then let's say maybe you already completed your master's, you want to go ahead and list those schools' information there. Below colleges attended, it should say transcript entry, but it will be on the application. So this is definitely one part you want to pay attention to. So for transcript entry, if you already graduated with your bachelor's degree, you do not have to input or do anything in this section. You can leave it completely blank. If you are a senior within your last year of your bachelor's program, last semester, all you have to do in this section is just input the current courses you're enrolled in or the courses that you still have to complete. Another thing to note, you do not have to upload any documents, any unofficial transcripts or anything into this section. So I believe it does have the option to upload something, just ignore it, just move on to the next part, which is going to be GPA entries. So for here, just go ahead and give us your best guess. If you graduated a couple years ago and you 100% don't remember what your GPA is, that's fine. Just give us your best guess, and Enrollment Services, regardless, is going to verify it. For a standardized test, if you did sit for the GMAT or the GRE and you want to go ahead and use those writing section scores to help you waive the core test, go ahead and input your scores here. If you are required to take like the TOEFL or any one of the English language requirement exams, you can also go ahead and input your score here. If you, let's say you start this application next month and your test date for the TOEFL is not till like another 2 months, that is totally fine. Just go ahead and submit your application still. On this section, just go ahead and give us your best guess, the score that you're hoping to get. And then just submit your application. We don't want you to wait to submit your application because you're waiting to sit for your exam. Like I said before, in GPA entries, regardless, they're going to verify it. So just go ahead and submit it. The third section is going to be supporting information. There's 3 different sections within this quadrant. So the first 2 are going to be experiences and achievements. You can go ahead and leave both of those sections completely blank. Just skip both of them. The third section within this quadrant is going to be statement of purpose. As I stated previously, you are required to submit a short essay question. However, this is not the section I was referring to. That is going to be in the 4th quadrant, which I'm going to go over next. But for this section, it will not let you get the green check mark or the green circle unless you type something within the text box for the statement of purpose tab. So you can just go ahead and type in that text box. I'm submitting straight to department. I'm uploading the quadrant 4, whatever you want to input here, it's totally fine. Just something has to be in that text box so you can go ahead and move on to the next and final quadrant, which is quadrant 4. And this is going to be the most important quadrant within the entire application. This is the one that Mohammed and I will be referring to when it comes to reviewing your application and deciding if you're admissible into the program. So the 3 main sections within this quadrant are going to be questions, documents, and recommendations. So I'll go ahead and go over questions first. So for the questions one, you will upload the link to your video recording, and you're going to also copy and paste your response to the short essay question. The video recording, again, like I said before, is our version to the interview process. I get asked all the time if students can waive or not submit a video recording, and the answer is no. You have to submit this. So just be prepared for that. At least you know the question now ahead of time so you can start preparing. This is your opportunity to give the committee a better idea of who you are. Your video recording should be no longer than 5 minutes, and you will answer the following question. What are your career goals in the next 3 to 5 years? And what, in your imagination, would be your long-term dream job? If you use YouTube, you need to make sure your link is set to public. If it's set to private, we will not be able to view it. For the short answer question, the character limit is going to be 1,500. So not word limit. A lot of people get confused by that. It's not word limit, it's character limit. So ideally with that character limit, your short answer question or statement should only be 1 to 2 paragraphs max. Most people tend to do 1 paragraph, but 2 paragraphs should be more than enough for you to answer the following question. Describe a time when you dealt with someone who was difficult. How did you handle that situation? What would you do differently if you can do it over again? So once you answer that question, you're going to go ahead and copy and paste it into the questions tab within Quadrant 4. And same thing with your video recording. Once that's done, you can go ahead and take the link and upload it to, or copy and paste the link into the questions tab as well. The next tab within Quadrant 4 is going to be documents. This is pretty straightforward. All you're going to do here is just upload your most updated resume. Again, you do not need to upload any transcripts or any, documents like that into this section. Then the last final tab within Quadrant 4, it's going to be recommendations. As I said before, we require 2 letters of recommendation, and these letters should be written by someone who you have an academic or professional relationship with. You will need to state their name and their email address. And some advice to you is before you input their first name, last name, email address into the system, you want to make sure to go ahead and give them a heads up. Let them know that you are going to use them as a recommender or ask them to be a recommender, because after you input their email address into the system, our system is going to automatically email them and send them a notification letting them know so-and-so has requested for them to be their recommender, and it's going to have a link on there. So what they could do is go ahead and type out their letter. They're going to upload it to the link, and it'll come straight back to our system. So best practice, make sure you ask your recommender ahead of time before you input their information into our system. We get asked all the time, what would we like to see the recommender to include in the letter of recommendations? So here is some bullet points that you could provide your recommender. Again, you're going to have a copy of this presentation, so you can go ahead and copy and paste these bullet points, send it to your recommender so they know what to include in it. To summarize, pretty much you want them to include a short summary of your history with that person or you. So were they either a professor, manager, supervisor of yours? They want to go ahead and give a statement or list of characteristics that they believe will help you excel in the program. They want to give some examples of tasks, projects, or contributions you made in the classroom or within a team or at the workplace. And lastly, have them include a strong closing statement endorsing you for the program. So once you're done with the recommendations tab, at that point, you'll have all green circles, you finish all quadrants, then you will go ahead and pay the $70 non-refundable fee and submit your Cal State Apply application. Once you do that, you will get a confirmation email from Enrollment Services confirming that they received it, and they're also going to issue you a student ID number that's going to be related to Cal State Long Beach. So with that said, as it says here, for domestic applicants, do not send your transcripts until after you submit your Cal State Apply. The reason for that, because you really want to make sure you have that campus-wide ID number on it. If you're graduating from Cal State Long Beach, you don't have to submit any documents. We could go ahead and retrieve your transcripts for you. For domestic applicants, you have the option to send in your transcript electronically. You can ask your admissions and records to go ahead and email it to this email address right here, or you can request a physical official copy. So they're going to go ahead and put it into the sealed envelope. You can ask them to mail it directly to this address, or you can have them mail it to you and then put it in another envelope. Do not open up the envelope because it will not be official anymore. And this is the mailing address that you will use, and you could just draw in blank. You can go ahead and write your student ID on the envelope. For our international applicants, you will be required to submit official documentations as well. So You'll need to submit your transcripts or your mark sheets, your degree cert or graduation cert, things like that. In the past with the pandemic, I know Women's Services was a little more lenient. I want to say back in like fall 2020 when everything first was going on. But since then, honestly, I don't know how they're going to be moving forward. So with that said, you want to make sure you start the process now, nice and early, when it comes to requesting your official documents. They need to be in a sealed envelope, and usually the university will go ahead and stamp it official on the seal. And this is a mailing address that you want to go ahead and use to mail it to. And again, the email address that's here on the slide, if you have any questions in regards to I-20, visa, some documentation when it comes to like bank statements, things like that, you want to make sure you email this address. So it's going to be an important one that you want to copy and paste, put in your notes. If you email me those questions, I'll try my best to help you, but 90% of the time, I'm going to direct you to email that email address. And most importantly, because with everything continuing, so with the pandemic and everything and travel restrictions, things are always changing. So we always just refer to that department because they're the ones who have most up to date when it comes to new requirements and everything like that. I'll go over this fairly quickly, but this is going to be for our current Cal State Long Beach students. So if we have any students for juniors, seniors, what this is an opportunity for our current Cal State Long Beach students to participate in our fast track application process. You do have to meet certain eligibilities as it states here on the screen in order to partake in this application process. And what it is that if you're admitted, because there is an online application you have to submit and it is reviewed by a committee, then you would not be required then to have to sit with the GMAT or the GRE. You wouldn't have to submit a video recording, and you would not have to do the 2 letters of recommendation. If you are interested in this and want more information, just feel free to email the email address on the screen, and then we can go ahead and send you a link to that online fast track application. Okay, so some frequently asked questions, we're wrapping up now. Is the program STEM designated? As Mohammed mentioned before, the answer is yes, we are STEM designated. Do I need to have work experience in IS or IT to apply? I get this question a lot, and the answer is no. Work experience in IS and IT is desirable, but certainly not essential or required. Do I need to know how to code before I join? Again, I get this question a lot too. Coding is desirable, but not essential. You can go ahead and read the rest here, but Mohammed did give some feedback in regards to some skill sets that you can start acquiring now, some online courses you could possibly look into, certificate programs, things like that you can do ahead of time before the program starts. And also this gives you an opportunity to kind of enhance your application too, if you do state that you have been dabbling or have experience in these different areas. What is the student experience? So you will again have a copy of this PowerPoint, so you can refer back to this link, click on it, and it does have a recorded panel of our current students, and you can hear their experience within the program, so that will be helpful for you. And then finally, what is the cost of tuition? The MSIS program is a flat rate fee. It is $1,050 per unit. Every class is going to be 3 units, and pretty much all our full-time students take about 3 classes per semester, so around 9 units per semester. So you're looking roughly around a little over $9,000 per semester, and the cost for the entire program is going to be $31,500. This is not due upfront. We are a semester system, so we pay per semester, and our semesters are 16 weeks. And this flat rate fee does cover books, materials, parking pass, and meals for Saturday classes. Okay, and that is it. That is our presentation. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and open it up to all of you guys. We have our chat feature open. I see some questions have been coming through. And then me and Mohammed will go ahead and take turn answering your guys' questions. First question, as an international applicant, when is the earliest I can hear back if I was admitted to the program? So it 100% depends on how soon you can get your application completed. And by completed, I mean you have your official transcripts in, you have your test scores in, you submit like your letter of recommendations, things like that, because even though you submit Kelsey Apply, what could delay the processing time if there is a delay in receiving your transcripts or letter of recommendations and things like that. I do try my best when your application is 100% complete to reach out to you to let you know, like, hey, I'm pushing your application to the next step, which is final review. I don't tend to do that all the time because sometimes there's just way too many applicants, but I do try my best to do that. So once your application is completed, it just depends at that point how long it takes for Mohammed to make a decision. It could be like a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It just depends on where we are in the application term, but we are admitting students on a rolling basis. So application window opens October 1st. Some students could start receiving decisions, early as November or mid-November. We don't wait till April to send out decisions. It's going to be on a rolling basis. I see Mohammed's answering some questions. Thank you. The question was, is there an option to do this program online? No, right now we have classes hybrid. So some days in class, some days online. I know moving forward, especially in the fall term for this group of students applying, the goal is to have it 100% full time. Next question, is it easier to be accepted if you graduate at Cal State Long Beach for IS? How do you want to answer that, Mohammed?
So easier in terms of if we know you, it's easier for us to make a decision. If we, you're our department student, we know if, let's say, you're dedicated, it becomes easier for us to make an admission based on that. So that's what easier may mean.
And also, it really depends, like if you're an IS major, that is beneficial because you do have you possibly have like the experience with coding and programming and things like that. So if you are an IS undergraduate student, I'm sure Mohammed will be paying attention to how you performed in those IS related courses.
Yeah, and since we know our courses, so reading the transcript becomes easier, reading a transcript of a CSULB. Because that's that's something that I go through, going through this transcript, whether you did a technology or non-technology related degree, and I see what courses you did and what grades you did on these courses, and I see which courses you struggled with, etc. So if you graduated May 2022, though, then there is an option, or if you will graduate May 2022, there is an option of, what is it called? Accelerated or fast track?
Fast track, yes.
Fast track. So those who graduate May 2022, meaning they graduate the summer or the spring before the fall admission, then it's easier for them to get admitted because it's fast track. Fast track has less requirements to get admitted. So you get most of the requirements waived.
Yes.
And I think Karen already spoke about this.
And then next question, Nikki, questions in regards to like scholarships, merit scholarships as international students. Yes, those opportunities are there, but you just can't really apply for them until after you're admitted into the program and you're within your first semester, pretty much.
Yeah, so there are opportunities on campus, of course, limited, not for every single person, but there are opportunities. Usually you'll have to apply for them, and there is an application process, interview process, but there are, and we have plenty of our current IS students who are either doing ISA or TA, some worked before in the ITS, like the technology department, etc.
Yeah, so next question, can you elaborate on the career advising services available for the MSIS program? So we do work closely with our graduate career services. Those individuals work directly with just our graduate students. And you have the opportunity to work with them when it comes to getting your resume updated, practicing interview questions with them. And then they do help our MSIS students when it comes to starting the conversation for like internships or setting up interviews for them when it comes to that. I do know like one of our weeks, I was just not too long ago speaking with one of our MSIS students who worked closely with the career services, and he was able to land an internship within the industry, and he's still currently a student, and he is an international student too. So definitely they have the connections for you, like there's options there, but it's just a matter of you taking advantage of them, making the appointments with them, getting to know them. The more you get to know them, the more they'll have your name in the back of their head when opportunities do present themselves. And then at the beginning of every school year, when a new cohort comes in, Career Services does require or try to have all our students fill out a portal with them, so they get information in regards to like your resume, your experience, industries you're interested in, things like that, so then they can pull from that list when opportunities do present themselves.
Yeah, so we do have a graduate office dedicated specifically for graduate student career advising. And as Karen mentioned, they help you prepare resume books. If recruiters are interested, they would share with them those resume books so they can choose qualified students. And they, by the way, they just sent us an email of an event that is happening next week, especially for our graduate students. Now,
Yes.
on top of that, Karen and I are also working with other companies, specifically tech companies, to help specifically our MS students. So that's something new we're trying to work on.
Yeah, so like Mohammed next Friday has set up a Zoom meeting with an individual within the IT or IS industry, and they're going to be speaking with our students and in the future setting up mock interviews and stuff like that. So those opportunities are there. Great question. What are usually the class times for evening and Saturdays? So for evening classes, they usually always start at 7 o'clock. The days of when they are offered during the week, the days, it varies per semester. Some semesters, they're mostly maybe Tuesday, Thursday, but I want to say this, for example, the spring one that we have coming up, it's spread out evenly pretty much between like Monday through Thursday. And when it comes to Saturday classes, I believe they start at 9 a.m.
Yeah, so Saturday, either 9 or 1 p.m. We try our best not to have 2 classes on Saturday. So if you have a Saturday class, it's either 9 or 1 for the most part. And then during the week 7, so if you are working, say a domestic student, and you finish 5, you still have time to drive, you know, from work or wherever you're working from to campus, you know, and you'll have enough time. That's the idea. Class size, of course, it varies. Last year, we had so many applications, over 200. So we admitted slightly more. So we have 30 plus that joined this year. The year before, it was about 20. So I would say 30 plus, that would be the class size.
Yeah, and as Mohammed mentioned before, we are a cohort model. So what that means is that you take the same, everybody has within your cohort has the same exact schedule, and you move from every single class together. So if the cohort coming in, if it's like 30 students, then your class size most likely will be around that size. You may run into some classes where you do the same classes with some other cohorts. But I think the biggest class size we have is like 40 or 38. Besides that, it's a little lower. So the question is, if something happens and we have to take a semester off, how does that work? You do have the option to apply for a leave of absence. I believe that leave of absence is only good for one semester though. I don't think it's like consecutively like a whole year or anything like that. But it does apply for a semester. And if that does happen, you would just go ahead and work with me, and then I will go ahead and send you a form that you need to fill out, and then we'll adjust your schedule at that point. If that's the case where we do have to adjust your schedule, then you may take some classes with like a different cohort then, or whatever classes are remaining. Mohammed, do you want to elaborate on that one?
So Capstone course, basically you work on a project related to what you've learned throughout. So it's more like a project management course, but you work on a project with a group. And it was taught in various ways. So you either work with a company to solve a business problem, or you come up with your own, problem or solution that is approved by the professor. This is something I'm also trying to change right now. I'm working with the advisory board that I mentioned. We do have an advisory board, and we actually met with them 2 days ago. And one of the ideas was that those advisory boards, who are like executives in some companies, will provide us with some, hopefully, I mean, if it works out, with some hypothetical problems, business problems relevant to what they deal with. And those will be the problems that students will work on their capstone project with the professor, but then the industry advisory board will also come and see the results and comment on them.
Great questions, everybody.
All right, any other questions?
I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up. We are coming up to an hour. So thank you for taking the time to join us this evening. Like I said, this session is recorded, so I will go ahead and get it set up to like a link, or in a link format, so I can go ahead and send it to you all. And I'll send you the PowerPoint and also the application guide as well, most likely tomorrow morning. And then feel free to follow up with me if you have any additional questions in regards to the application process. And don't forget that it opens up October 1st.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you. I hope this was helpful. And then we are looking forward to seeing all your applications come through.